Hi there and welcome to this episode of Empowerment Hour. And as you all know, we are not live in the studio at the moment due to the current world affairs that are going on and the coronavirus. So I'm so happy to technology actually that we can record a show that Amy, our wonderful editor at Calon FM, can actually go in and organise this for me on my behalf after I've sent it to her. We are doing this recording on Zoom, so you may pick up on background noises because my guests and I are in our own homes in different parts of the country. So I'm actually loving that I can do this with people from all over the country. So it's a little bit of a different experience to being live in the studio. And listeners, couldn't do this without you. So grateful that you show up, that you take an interest. And how does it get any better than this? So who are my guests today? My guests are JenWells and Helen Turier of Resilience Wellbeing. So Jen, hello, long time no see, because we're on Zoom, so we can see each other, but you will only hear us at the radio. So Jen, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us to come and talk to you. It's really a fantastic opportunity and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. Just give us a little bit of your background, Jen, and how you came into Resilience Wellbeing.
So I've always been fascinated by the mind-body connection. My bachelor's degree was in psychology, which started a real interest in how the mind works and how that impacts what's going on in your life. I followed that with training. I did training equine facilitated learning, so how you actually use horses to communicate, and pick up on your particular moods and how that's impacting the animal. And then I also did some training around a concept called Psyche, which looks at the subconscious and how the subconscious influences what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. And so that's kind of like a lot of where I started my interest around helping people and looking at what we're thinking and how we're thinking and how that influences our behavior. I suppose for me, really, I've lived in a number of different countries around the world. I'm a single mum. I have 2 children. I've had my own challenges in life, particularly in the last 10 or so years. And so what I've done is I've learned what helps me become resilient and how I can actually increase my resilience on a day-to-day basis and change my mindset to change the outcome. So what the tips and everything else like that I've learned and picked up over the years is really what I'm utilizing now in our business.
Cool. And Helen, hello, nice to meet you, albeit virtually.
You too.
How are you?
Thank you.
So just as an introduction to you, where are you in the country? And just give us a little bit of an intro to your background.
So I'm at the opposite end of the country from Jen. So Jen's up in Scotland. I'm down in West Sussex. Jen and I met a number of years ago when we were both working for a medical software company. And my background is that I'm a nurse, but I left nursing back in 2005. And I've always had an interest in people's health and well-being, very much from a holistic perspective and from a integrated medical perspective. I truly believe that complementary therapies and conventional medicine can work hand in hand. It's well used in cancer centres. They're very into complementary therapies, but I have a huge desire to see a much broader perspective across the whole medical situation. But so a bit about my background, as well as being a nurse, I'm a reflexologist, an NLP practitioner and a coach. Back in 2012, I wrote a book on resilience after a particularly turbulent part of my life. And did some coaching, and Jen and I got back in contact fairly recently when we were both sort of talking about the same idea of doing more work around resilience.
Thank you. That's really cool. So something I have in common with both of you. Jen, I met when we did the Psych K, and Psych K is a form of kinesiology. And I've talked about that on my shows before. And you can look up kinesiology and what that is. And then I was a nurse as well, Helen, many years ago. And yeah, I'm with you on this blending of the medical model and being alternative over here, because I think at some point we need a bit of both. So, you know, if I was in a car accident and my leg was hanging off, there's no point handing me a crystal. That isn't going to work at that point, is what I always say. I want a really well-trained paramedic there to hold me together, to, you know, put drips into me and get me to hospital as fast as possible. Then I could call on my wonderful alternative therapy friends who will come up with 1,000,010 ways to get the healing well and truly underway, and so that everything would be, you know, would sort itself out in record time. And I think doctors are often amazed when alternative therapies work. Imagine. Been there myself, been very skeptical until I had to open myself up to way more of the alternative complementary world. So we are going to go to a break right now. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour, and this is a Zoom recording of Empowerment Hour for Calon FM. So Helen, I'm going to come to you now, and I wonder if you could just fill us in on the resilience well-being and your sort of passion for bringing this into the world, especially at a time like this, where, I don't know about you, but I go hardly ever right now to the supermarket. I am just managing on everything that's in the cupboard, and actually seeing this as a way to just have a really good clear out of all the food that's in the freezer and the cupboard and everything, and only go out and buy the occasional tin of beans or whatever, you know, that I can't live without. I can't live without my baked beans. I love them. So when they're run out, that's when I know it's time to go to the shops. When I do go, I really do pick up on the anxiety that people are experiencing. Are they standing far enough apart? What's going on here? How do I manage this? Do I need a map? You could just hear it coming, streams of consciousness coming out of them. So just give us a bit of the background about resilience wellbeing.
So Jen and I had been working on some face-to-face training, and we're in the early stages of some contract negotiation when all this built up, and we very quickly realized that a lot of the things that we were planning were not going to be happening for quite some time, because businesses were obviously already starting to think about how they were going to get their workforces working from home, and obviously that's a priority. So being resilient people ourselves, we sat down and went, okay, so this is a little bit of a negative situation. How can we flip it? Where's the opportunity in this? What can we do? What skills have we got? And very quickly, we looked and came up with a free session, which we'll be able to do online, and then some paid for sessions, which we can explain about later. But really, we were sort of looking at, okay, what is it with this situation that's making people so stressed? And of course, it's the lack of control, isn't it? Because this is something that we can't control. But then when we discuss that, we're actually, well, actually there is quite a lot that we can control. You know, we can control how compliant we are in following the government's advice. And obviously, I have a lot of friends that are still in the nursing profession, some of them very much on the front line, expanding their intensive care departments from 12 beds to 100 beds. And I think one of them said to me the other day, it's a little bit like standing on the beach and waiting for the tsunami to hit you. And it made me think, well, actually, you know what? if we can help people, we've got, between Jen and I, we've got a lot of knowledge around controlling, helping your mindset, staying healthy and well. If we can get that into a really nice format and get it out there and get it free online, then we can help people see that actually you can change your mindset around feeling trapped at home to feeling, actually, you know what, I may no longer be a nurse, I'm no longer on the NMC's register, but you know what, I can support my colleagues by helping other people to understand just why it's important to stay home, to stay safe, and not do that little pop out for, oh, well, I'll just go and get this. In fact, my daughter said the other day, we were making homemade pizzas last night, and I wanted some pineapple, and I said, oh, I could just pop to the village shop. And they were straight on me. No, mother, it's not essential. You do not need pineapple.
Good for them. And what I love hearing here is how you're working together with Jen and meshing skills. So it's not just coming from one sector. You do understand what the front line are doing right now and what they're going through. And you know, if you've never worked in an A&E department, you will have no idea what they're going through. You just won't. So yeah, good on you, really. Yeah, thank you for choosing to do this. That's great. So we will take another break now, and back with you in a moment. And coming back, Jen, can I come to you now, and can we take a look at what stress actually does to our bodies?
So there is no doubt that we're in a stressful situation at the moment. We've defined the fact that stress, everyone knows about the fight or flight syndrome and things, but the way we look at it is the essential ingredients for a stressful situation fall into what we call the nuts category. So nuts, N is for novelty, so something you've never experienced before. U is for unpredictability, something that you had absolutely no way of knowing would occur. T is a threat to the ego, so your competence as an individual is being called into question. And then S is your sense of control. Sorry, you have little or no control over the situation. So that's the nuts category. And if you look at those four components, if you think about the situation we're in at the moment, that throws us full on into a particularly stressful situation. So the question is not how we alter the situation, because there's not a lot we can do about it. It's how we deal with the situation. All of us potentially facing infection from the virus. So one of the things that we need to do is maintain our immune system. Immunity is compromised by stress. So your body is compromised by stress. It affects every single organ in your body at some point or other, depending on where you are in a particular stress cycle. So there are some things that we can do. One that's really important is look at our perception of things or our reaction to things. How are we viewing what's actually happening? How are we perceiving it? There is always classic glass half full, glass half empty. And if you take that glass half full approach to something instead of the glass half empty, again, it changes your attitude to the particular situation. Live in the present. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. Kung Fu Panda said it really nicely. Yes, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Focus on the present. Sorry, excuse me. There are things that you normally can fall into, coping strategies for stressful situations, increased drinking, comfort eating, all of those sorts of things doesn't help your immune system. So try and minimize those things. You need to fuel your body at this particular time, not starve it. Fruits and vegetables, where you can get them. Lots of drinking of not alcohol, but water and things that are good for your body. So minimize the caffeine, minimize the alcohol, and drink as much water as you can. Keep fluids moving, because again, that flushes out your system. Things like fear and anxiety, all the negative emotions have a depressing influence on your immune system again. So try really hard to move out of this negative mind pattern and into something that's more positive. Amazing way of doing that. Start a gratitude journal. Look at everything that you sort of think about your day. What can you be grateful for that's happened that day? Because again, that's doing is shifting the mindset away from the negative into the positive. Celebrate absolutely everything you can. You know, great, I just managed a fantastic workout that I've been wanting to do for ages, and I did it without falling over or whatever. Great, celebrate it. I've got to the next level in my PlayStation or whatever. Celebrate it. Whatever it might be, celebrate it. Because again, all of these things have an impact on your positive mindset. And be aware that not everyone is in loving and supportive relationships. Some people, at this particular time, it's really, really tough. So reach out to people wherever you can, stay connected and everything. Again, all of these things help build your immune system, and it's super important.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Again, we'll take a little break and then we'll be back. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour on Calon FM, and we are so grateful that you are here and listening to this and finding out about resilience well-being with my guests JenWells and Helen Turier. So Jen, again, we're coming back to you. So the mind-body connection and the power of the subconscious, you love this as a topic, don't you?
I do. I really do. And I think the more I get involved in it, the more I sort of try and immerse myself in the whole subject area, the more it really interests me. I think one of the fundamental things that people don't necessarily realize is that 95% of everything we do on a daily basis is governed by the subconscious. Subconscious, everything that you think about, you know, so the first 7 years of your life are the most important years. And, you know, there's a lot of jokes about sort of the priests and things like that that used to say, you know, give me the boy for the first 7 years and I'll show you the man. The reason why they say that is the first 7 years of your life fundamentally dictates who you end up being as a person. There are two ways that we program our subconscious. One is through hypnosis and the other is through repetition. In the first 7 years of your life, as a child, you're learning everything through hypnosis. So you're watching your parents, the way they interact, the relationships they have, your siblings, how they're dealing with things, and you're learning that. Things like walking, running, eating, all those sorts of things are programs that you build up through hypnosis. So the watching and the learning. As you age, so you get beyond your 7 years of age, so you start learning through repetition. I want to learn how to drive. Okay, fine. Go and you learn, you repeat until you know you don't have to suddenly think, put your foot down on the clutch, you know, change gears. That's how you drive. So all of those sorts of things impact how you're learning. Now, unfortunately, what happens is often within the first 7 years of your life, when you're programmed, things can be programmed into your subconscious that are not necessarily helpful. So the fact that your parents might be struggling financially, they turn around and they go, oh my God, life is such a struggle. Or the fact that you might not have responded in the right way to something they've asked for, they can turn around and they go, you are so stupid. I can't believe you don't get that. Those subconscious programming that takes place ends up becoming self-limiting or self-sabotaging beliefs that you then carry with you through life. So let's go back to the idea of life is such a struggle. If someone has this pre-programmed belief that life is a struggle, the moment life starts going well for them, they then end up in a situation where they do something to sabotage themselves. So the thing is that when you increase your awareness of what you're doing and potentially why you're doing it, it becomes absolutely essential to undo any of the negative programming that you have that is limiting your progression. So if you're constantly thinking that you're stupid or you're never going to achieve or you're always going to remain poor, look at what your programs might be and find out how you can adjust them. Now, Denise, as you know, Psych-K is one of the most amazing tools that you can use to actually really access your subconscious and change those limiting, self-limiting subconscious beliefs and put them into something that's positive, which means that you're moving forward in a positive way. There are lots of other programs and things that you can do out there that can actually change it. But it is really important from the point of view of looking at what's going on because of this phenomenal mind-body connection. Ultimately, what we think is what we believe. And what we think and what we believe then becomes the way our body responds to whatever. Bruce Lipton has written a book called The Biology of Belief. And in his book, The Biology of Belief, he talks about the fact that our subconscious beliefs can fundamentally change our cell structure. So people have done experiments where they look at water molecules. That particular water molecule, you start sending that water molecule feelings of hate or anger or anything else, the water molecule fundamentally changes. So it's really important to look at this connection.
It's amazing, isn't it, what our bodies, what they can do when we actually change what our beliefs are and how different we can become in the world as a result of that. And how much we actually do take on over life that we don't even realise we have done, from being tiny to where we are today, and always wondering why we fall back into the same patterns because we don't, drop my pen, we don't know how to change those patterns. And now you two have brought something together. So we're going to take another break right now. Hi there, welcome back. Helen, let's go to you. How are you doing over there?
I'm good, thank you.
Cool. So more and more of us are home working, which doesn't bother me. I tend to do a lot of home working, but I do get that how, for those that aren't used to it, that sort of sense of perhaps being trapped and not getting out and lack of movement, how that might be impacting someone. So tell us a little bit about that from your point of view.
Yeah, and I think maybe people don't realise just how important this is. So normally when we're going to work, whatever our place of work will be, there is some kind of commute from A to B involved. Yes, a lot of people do get in the car and drive, but you've still got to walk out your front door, you've got stairs to climb when you get to work. If you're commuting on public transport, often these days you're standing the entire way unless you happen to be at the beginning of the train line and get a rare seat. So even in a desk-bound job, you have periods of movement throughout the day. You move from your desk to the meeting room, you go to the staff kitchen, you go down the stairs to the toilet, and all of those distances are generally longer than they are in your own home. So all of a sudden we've got a significant percentage of people now working from home, or we've got people who have been furloughed by their work because there is no work that they can do at home. So their owners of the businesses are taking the opportunity to furlough them on 80% of their salary for the foreseeable. And everybody's kind of, what are they doing? Where are they going? Some of us are very fortunate. We've got gardens that we can go in. other people are in a very small flat, you know, and yet movement is an integral part of your immune system. It helps your lymphatic fluid, which is the fluid that goes around the body carrying all the white blood cells, and the white blood cells are the ones that do all the fighting of infection and the cleaning and sorting. And that lymphatic fluid requires our muscles to move in order to get it around the body. And one way you might have noticed this is if you've ever, when you're on a long transatlantic flight, for example, and you've just sat in that tiny little airline seat and you go to put your shoes on and you suddenly find that your shoes are tighter than they were, and it's because the fluid has got trapped, the lymphatic fluid's got sort of trapped in your feet, and your feet are swelled. And we run the risk of very similar things happening to us, with us all being trapped at home. So what we need to do is we need to find little pockets of movement within the day. So rather than just rolling out of bed, throwing a few clothes on because it doesn't matter because nobody's going to see me because I'm just at my dining room table, and then shuffling to the dining room table, grabbing our cup of coffee and then sitting straight down. Yet you use that time between getting up and work, is build in some exercise then. Obviously the children at the moment, and actually quite a lot of adults that I know as well, are doing Joe Wick's workout in the morning. I have a feeling that there's actually going to be quite a lot of children going back to school a lot fitter than they were before lockdown.
Because and the parents as well, maybe, if they're joining in.
I don't know very many schools these days that do half an hour of PE every single morning. But there are other things that we can do as well. So for example, when you're boiling the kettle, don't just stand there, maybe do a few star jumps or some squats or something, or a good old wall sit, you know, all sorts of different points in the day where you can get some movement. And then if you are on a long work conference call or whatever, try standing up during it, you know, put your laptop on a box and bring the screen up and stand up. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a bit of spare cash, invest in a standing desk, you know, because there's a lot to be said for getting that movement in, because it really helps with your immune system, but also it helps with your mental well-being. You know, when we exercise, we do release endorphins, and endorphins really do help to keep those blues at bay that, you know, many people may start to be feeling after, what are we going into, we'll be in week 2 of lockdown next week. So
and possibly with a few more weeks to go yet, I think, as well. So let's just see what happens there. We'll take a break right now. Being at home, the home working, the isolation side of it, what advice have you got for us with regards to that?
So for some people, working from home is not going to be a problem, because they may be quite introverted by nature, and they don't get their energy from being around other people.
I'll put my hand up to that.
Yeah, me too.
I love it. I love being at home on my own. It's great.
Whereas extroverts, often their energy comes from being connected, being with people. It's what zhuzhes them up. And for those people in particular, this could be a bit of a challenge, but most of us are fortunate enough to have technology available to us and to use it like we're using today via Zoom, or a lot of the phones these days have got video phone calls. And I think it's really important to use what we can to connect with people. And even those of us who are quite introverted and would quite happily just stay in our little cave and just pop out occasionally, need to remember humans need humans. We're not used to this being completely by ourselves for long periods of time. So we do actually have to put a little bit of effort into it as well. So, you know, making that list, who haven't I spoken to for a while? You know, going through your address book, scrolling through your phone. Oh, I haven't spoken to so-and-so for a while. And whereas at one point, pre-lockdown, we might have just pinged them a text message because we don't really want to interfere with their day because, you know, and they'll respond when they're ready. I think now is actually the time when we actually phone them and say, hi, just ringing, checking in, seeing how you're doing, how's it all going for you, kind of thing. Really important to do that. So not just our friends, but our relatives, our neighbours, you know, if we have their phone numbers. We have a very good neighbourhood app called Nextdoor, which is quite good, where people post things, you know. Somebody was looking for tomato plants the other day. So I was able to go, oh, I've got some of those on the go.
That's really cool to know that. I know one that my family is setting up is House Party, which is an app so that we can do pub quizzes together. So there's so much available technology-wise these days, isn't there? And it doesn't have to all be about watching the news and, you know, what's going on there. Like you say, it is that we do require connection at some level.
We do. And I think the other thing to recognise as well is that we're all going to be, we're not getting the same physical contact with people either. So there needs to be a little bit more self-care for each of us. Because, you know, if you meet up with a friend, you would normally give them a great big hug, and we all get a lovely good old release of oxytocin when we have a hug from somebody that we know, like and trust. Well, on video conferencing, we're not going to do that.
Not quite the same, is it?
So then it's thinking about, how can I get some touch and some feel? So, you know, you could do, so obviously I'm a reflexologist, so I've been saying to my clients, do some hand reflexology, have a nice relaxing bath, make it more for all of your senses. So a nice smell to go with it, the water, all of that is touch related, but maybe it's things that people aren't naturally thinking about. But actually, because us human beings are so multifaceted, we do need to just raise our awareness of these types of things a little bit more at this point in time, so that we are meeting all of our needs in what is really quite a strange situation, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's world events are, I don't know about you, but I have no recollection of anything like this in my lifetime. So we're all in it together because no one actually knows what the end point is yet. So let's see what we can do. So we'll just take a break and then we'll come back for the final section of the show. So just to finish off today's show, resilient wellbeing, where can we get hold of you? Where can we find you? Who wants to let everybody know about that? Jen, is that your turn?
We have a website which hasn't gone live yet, but you can find us on Facebook. So we have a business page on Facebook. And what we're doing in the next month, we're starting sort of the first one will be on Friday, April the 3rd, is we are doing 6 sessions during April, which are an hour long, which we're going to actually offer to people a free session that gives them the opportunity of actually taking part in a program. So they'll walk away with some top tips to actually sort of figure out how they can increase their well-being and improve their resilience over that period of time. So we're going to be introducing a program called the AAA program, which looks particularly at attitude awareness and action. So what are the elements of that you can actually, where you can control, where you might be able to change your mindset to actually increase your resilience. And as Helen said earlier, we were in the process of launching this and contract negotiations with a couple of businesses and things to take it out, but we've had to change our approach to things now. So what we're aiming to do is, we said, sort of offer some free sessions and then some paid sessions, not necessarily for businesses, but as for individuals, which will be longer sessions, so 4 hours of training. And this is in a program that Helen and I have devised, which is around empower, energize, and thrive. So again, it gives you all the sort of aspects of what you need to, first of all, empower yourself, then energize yourself, and then thrive. And all of those are on Eventbrite, so you can search for them under Eventbrite and book yourselves onto them.
And that's resilience, wellbeing. So
resilient well-being. Yeah, resilient well-being.
Resilient well-being.
Yeah.
And you're on Facebook, and I have to say the social media platforms are available to us all, and you can find you through Eventbrite. Ladies, thank you so much. We've actually recorded this on a Sunday afternoon, so which is great, isn't it? We have the technology, we can do that. Everyone who's listening in, thank you all so very, very much. Really appreciate it, and we'll be back again next week. Bye for now.